All right, guys. So it is 11 on the dot for me. Thanks for all being here. Today we do have a very exciting day. I would say the most exciting day that we've had since the inception of the idea that we announced to everyone and got people into this community for. So I don't have much to say other than I'm super excited. Thank you guys for being here. And I will just pass the mic over to Chris and let him get going.
Yeah, cool. Thanks everyone for being here. No point really in beating around the bush, but I'm going to talk a little bit after this about what we're working on with Argent and wallets. But before we do that, we've set a date. Influence is coming to mainnet with exploitation on June 27th. So it's coming soon. It's next month. I hope everybody's excited. I know I am. I know the whole team is. Really, really looking forward to seeing this great big experiment really kick off and see all of the many strategies that have been worked on for the last 3 years start to come into play. See this economy take shape, and basically see this civilization be built out of nothing in the Adalian belt. So I'm really, really excited that we're finally here. And thank all of you for your support for some of you for quite a while. It's finally coming. Really, really exciting.
You heard it here, folks.
And
man, what a session we just had talking about how and when we pull this off, how it's all going to go down. Do you want to go into details at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was yeah, we can go into a little bit of detail. We've been thinking a lot about who the audience is for influence. More broadly, who's the audience for quote Web3 games? Obviously, all of us in this space, on-chain gaming, Web3 gaming, Web 2.5 gaming, what have you, we're all trying to attract, the traditional gaming audience. And I actually think that in a lot of ways, influence is unique in that a lot of, actually 50% in 2021 of the people who are joining the community and buying an asteroid, getting crewmates back then, were totally new to blockchain. And that was really, really exciting at the time. We've seen things change and shift over the last 3 years in the space. And unfortunately, in some ways, traditional gamers have a lower opinion of blockchain than they did then. But I think it's something that we're adamant about overcoming, and really bringing like the benefits of being a decentralized, unstoppable game with a real economy, with real ownership, to traditional gamers. One of the biggest efforts there has been to try to take this, the onboarding in the crypto space, trying to get people into Ether or into Starks or into Sway, making that process easier, and then eliminating the constant transaction prompts that you see when you're doing anything on chain. So we've been doing a lot of work on wallets, and we've been working a lot with Argent, and we are continuing to work a lot with Argent. But at this point, we are very close to readiness. You all have been here a long time, waiting, wanting to play, and we're ready to go. We still feel like we're going to be well aligned with Argent to get what they're calling new sessions out. We're really excited about it. We're working also with Avenue. I don't know if any of you heard my the podcast that I was on yesterday, the Twitter Spaces with Avenue and Starknet. But we're going to be working a lot on gas abstraction, gas fee abstraction, subsidized transactions, subsidized account deploys. But we sort of decided, I think the best thing for us to do is to launch to our amazing community, launch to the people who are in Web3, who are comfortable with using wallets, who will come now, and then work on attracting that larger audience as we go. Very likely still that all that tooling will already be in place at launch, but it's time to go. So we're going now. Well, June 27th.
That's awesome. And there it was. Yeah, we just kept thinking about the the implications of what this new sessions, having specifically smoother onboarding flow would do for our launch date, because otherwise the product was ready. We felt the game was ready, and pretty cool. We actually figured it out that we're gonna go basically whether or not Argent will be ready with their upgraded session flow, and that gives us an opportunity to, I think, to actually say, hey, if they're ready, and it's very possible that their new upgraded session flow will be ready to go by the time we launch, but because they didn't have a firm date for us, and we wanted to avoid yet another third-party dependency, we are going to launch whether or not they're ready.
Yep. I mean, at the end of the day, there's always going to be something that we could wait for, that we could build better. But we're going to be launching June 27th, and we're going to keep building the game, keep making quality of life improvements, and we're super excited. And I think what I'm most excited for now is alliances, if they'll share any of their strategy or plans for launch, now that they have a transfer window that they can look at for planning and everything else like that. That's going to be exciting. We can focus on game and just having fun together, rather than, sitting on our hands in anticipation.
Right, and the tech stack will continue to get better, right? The sessions, all the other things will continue to improve, and I think we'll just keep growing the game as that happens then, and it will get easier and easier for the people who are not crypto native, not blockchain friendly already, to get in there and interact with the client. And then by then we'll also I think also have more of a robust economy for the people that have already been playing for a little bit. Hopefully the belt will be bubbling with activity, and we feel really good about this decision.
I'll also just say, it's something now that we can just rally behind as a community. We can start really just having the conversations that would normally be, needing a date on launch. And I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of fun things with the community inside and out to get people pumped up. So keep your eyes on the channels, and share things out. Now you can tell your friends with certainty that a launch date is there. I know that we want to also share a few things today. One of those things, Sergey, you've been working really hard on kind of what's called the launcher. What this game looks like when you first get in. I know that it's at the point where you can share it, maybe walk people through it. But for just to preface here, guys, what we have in the client when you just get to game.influence.th.io, that's like the main screen, and that's going to be changing in a pretty big way. So Sergey, if you want to take that away, maybe it's a good time to do that.
Yeah, I'm ready to take the wraps off it. This has been a project for me for a while. We have been targeting a lot of upgrades, this is basically the UI of the game before you get into the game, the main menu, if you will. We've been targeting a lot of upgrades at the play screen. We have been looking at simpler crew switching, as well as a bunch of screens to help with the onboarding and maybe like information finding with regards to some of the stuff. Well, why don't I just dive in? I'll show you guys some of the cool stuff that we have planned in this mock-up, which is being built as we speak. All right, do you guys see my screen?
I do.
So this is, yep. Excellent. All right, so it will be the upgraded launcher menu for Influence. So, anyways, this is going to be our new flow that is going to include the web wallet. It won't include the new features, but as the new features roll out, or it actually might with Argent, but this will be the new web wallet flow that will be the recommended. Logging into Influence. This way you can play with a session. You don't have to sign everything. And then if you want to, we'll also support the other two external wallets here. But so now you will log in with your email address. You can do that with the Powered by Argent wallet. That will take you to here. This will be the new play screen. This is the screen right now where you also would have my crews. We're merging them together. So you have your crews, and you switch your crews that you have on your account right here. Also, this is going to include the new account assets side panel, which I was previewing a little bit last week. But this is a cool place to bounce between, hey, here's my crews, and you can see who's ready, who's doing all the stuff here. And here will be right now a list of all the other stuff across all the asteroids that this account controls. And then you're able to here zoom, selectively select only assets by a current crew or on a current asteroid. But I think this will be a very good hub. I know people have been asking for a long time for just like show me all my stuff that this account owns. And we plan on improving this later, but for now, I think this is going to be a really powerful list to have access to right alongside your crews. Okay, moving on. We have a new store. This will be the launch store. We're going to be selling crewmates sway on the exchange. Asteroids will be similar, and we're going to sell the new starter packs. Each one of these has their own screen, so they're going to have their own store landing page. And you can go and we're going to allow you to add funds. You can add funds, with Ramp through traditional fiat here. This is going to be a pretty cool option in addition to just like onboarding through the trad layer swap for the crypto native people. We have a store. Here is a help section. So this is one I've been working with JP a lot on. It is basically going to highlight a lot of the video content and our game's official tutorials, and the idea is to bring these into the client. For the most part, this is just like YouTube stuff, so it's going to be a grid of videos. We have official videos. I think if possible, we'd like to get some videos from other content creators and unofficial third-party stuff that we'll just highlight because I know there already are amazing guides out there for this. And then we're also going to have a link, just another cross link to the game's wiki and support in Discord here. So the help section is intended to really be right there in the main menu, a guide for new players who want to figure out what this game is all about, don't really know where to get started. This is there to help them out. We will have a rewards section. This rewards section is going to start right now by tracking the full release version of these community missions, which we're getting help with our partners Wendash. Thank you guys for doing the back end support. I think you guys are watching here in the stream, but it's going to be awesome, and looking forward to working with you guys to track these quests. We're going to have some community missions. We have an idea right now. We're trying to work with Starknet Quest to do some like very simple kind of social media type quests that will also put you on a list for some rewards. And then we have our recruitment program, which is currently active. And this is the recruitment thing is right now living in a bottom section of game settings. But it feels really apt to put it into the reward section. And then we have settings, which is the same here. But I think we're also going to add a game shortcuts menu because there's a couple sort of more hidden shortcuts that we want to expose. And that's a new thing. And then the rest of this stuff is just moving it around. I think we talked about having the desktop app install being over here. Bug report is getting moved over here, just a little bit more prominent, and the assets portal is just the same thing. here's another cool little feature. But so there's the play menu. You can always hit the big play button, but now you can hit a smaller kind of button where it's usually where the close is, and you can dive into the game right away, whether you're logged in or not, by the way. And there, it should be handy to basically toggle the main menu through a similar corner button, just like this. So yeah, actually, that's about the tour. Looking forward to answer any questions. We're gonna have I'm probably gonna release a slew of mocks so you guys can scrutinize all these screens one by one. But these are the plans that we have for the final game launch version of the menu.
Yeah, some questions that I've seen posted here either today or a few days ago. For the store, if you could just click on that really quick. Chris, maybe you can chime in here, but I had some people ping me and they said, in the store, how much sway can you buy? Is there a cap? Can you just purchase directly there? How does that function?
Yeah, so there's really no cap. Sway will be decentralized from the get-go, from the very beginning. It's held by the community. We are therefore part of the community, but this will connect directly, in this case via the Avenue DEX aggregator, to any of the pools that are present on StarkNet that are holding Sway. Avenue is, I think, a really great aggregator. They do a really incredible job of routing trades through all of the applicable pools. So I saw some questions earlier about are we doing USDC and Sway or ETH and Sway? The answer, it doesn't matter, is as long as there's at least one. As long as there's one pair with Sway somewhere, it can get routed through effectively any pair, which is really, really cool. So if you go to Avenue, you'll see as well, if you put in, that you want to trade Stark for Lords, which is Loot Realms token. You'll see in their UI exactly how it's being routed, and in most cases, it's not actually getting routed via a Stark Lords pool. They do a really great job at that. So we are connecting directly to Avenue, and it's just going to use those underlying pools. There's just as good a chance that Sway will come from one of you as it is to have come from us. And therefore, there's no limit except for the liquidity limit that exists on the pools that are on StarkNet.
Actually, this is kind of interesting, but I had been designing this UI, and obviously this is from the point of view of wanting to onboard Sway onto your account from one of these exchanges. But how would it work to go in the opposite direction? Say you want to sell Sway to an exchange.
I think we probably will just send people out to Avenue for that, or to whatever choice of aggregator or AMM they want to use would be available.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
so basically, go to Avenue's website, look up their pool, do the transaction there.
Chavot, enter a negative amount in the purchase box.
There's nothing really stopping it, but I think we'd like to sort of avoid the confusion. That this is a place to trade Sway. I mean, this is really a place to buy Sway to use in playing Influence.
Yeah. So, okay, next question on the store, and Chris, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But I had a few questions over the last few weeks about asteroids and the sales that we might be doing at launch, and the amount of asteroids available. So right now we're showing a certain amount, but maybe you could just do an overview again of kind of how the bleeding out of asteroids works.
Yeah, so we'll be setting basically a limit that rolls on a million-second basis, which is sort of a period that we've used for a lot of things in the game, as well as the foundational period when it comes to Sway's tokenomics. That's, I think, around 11 and a half days. Basically, on a rolling basis, a set of asteroids is available, and I think we're targeting about 1,000, and that will roll over every 11 and a half days, and there will be another set available. There's no rollover minutes here, so if that 1,000 isn't purchased, then there will be another 1,000 available the next week, but they are not cumulative.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. And then starter packs. Sergey, if you mind going to the starter packs there. The team has been talking a lot about back and forth about how these work, what they'll function, what you'll get inside of them. I'm not sure if we want to talk too deeply about that today in terms of what kind of they all entail in terms of what you get. But we are definitely honing in on the exact starter packs. One thing, Chris, that maybe we want to talk about a little bit is just, how do these actually function? Can you purchase more than one at a time? How does this store work specifically?
The starter packs themselves?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a few people just ask, can I buy 10? Like, what do I do?
You certainly could. The starter packs really, in the end, is sort of a convenient combination of the crewmates that you'll need and the sway that you'll need to complete certain tasks. They're bundled in that way just for convenience, and it's really the ideal starting components for a new player. If you wanted to buy a bunch, you could. Ultimately, they're not an individual NFT or anything like that. You will just get the components of the starter pack. So if you bought 10 starter packs, well, you would just end up with 10 times the stuff that's in a starter pack.
Right, and there's no like unwrapping kind of stage in these. Meaning, I don't think you can buy a starter pack and then gift a whole starter pack to another wallet.
No,
Right.
you can't. But you can gift crewmates all day, crewmate credits as well. So if you're looking to do that, you can buy crewmates in bulk. You can put in any number you want, and it's I think a great way to get friends involved. We have done that. JP has done that a lot, giving out crewmates and letting people get involved really quickly.
Yeah. I'm soon going to be turning into the Oprah of crewmates here. So keep your eyes out on Discord and Twitter and things like that. We'll be having some fun engagements where you'll be able to get some crewmates, maybe an asteroid here and there.
Yeah, it's worth noting. If you guys are looking at these numbers and are like calculating, do not calculate based on any of these starter pack numbers. They are completely made up. In fact, they have changed. And another fact is one of the things with regards to that upgrade through Argent's second generation web wallet is the ability to pay, for example, for transactions in Sway, which would be very handy to have, and we would love that. But in the event that doesn't come in, the starter pack would need to apportion some of the funds towards an ETH allotment, basically, just to pay the gas as it currently stands, because we want the starter packs to be everything you need to get started playing, including some Sway, some ETH right now, and then some crewmates.
Yeah, and actually, can I just expand real quick on Sergey mentioned paying gas and Sway, and Shavo just asked a question about that. That is related to what we've been working on quite a bit with both with Argent and Avenue. Avenue has built a paymaster, an account abstraction powered paymaster, not actually native to Starknet. Just one of the benefits of being able to build on a chain that is account abstraction native. So we are working very closely with them to try to get the ability to pay fees in Sway as soon as possible. It may very well be in place as of June 27th. We're not positive yet, though, but we will let you know as soon as we are. But I think there's a lot of really exciting stuff there that we're working on. Paying gas in Sway, the potential for some subsidization of fees, and then also I mentioned being able to deploy accounts, initially deploy accounts on the user's behalf, which is pretty exciting as well, especially considering just how cheap it is to deploy an account on Starknet. It's like less than 0.01 cents, I believe. So there's a lot of really exciting stuff coming there.
Chris, one follow-up question on this that I'm already seeing is going to come up here. But if I don't use Web Wallet and I want to purchase a starter pack and I hit purchase pack, will it just automatically convert, ETH or whatever I have in my wallet to that, or how does that function?
I mean, ultimately, the purchase is working the same way, whether you're using Web Wallet or Arginx or Bravos. Um, in the case of Web Wallet, or really in the case of Arginx, if you don't have any funds, you're going to be prompted to fund your wallet, and that's going to be either our suggested route via Ramp or Layer Swap. Layer Swap has lots of options. You can get it from L1, you can get it from a different chain, etc.
Yeah, we
And in
actually
the
went
end,
deep into that. I don't know if you want me to go through the mocks, but it's pretty technical. But we were
it is. I mean, maybe you just want to show the one that kind of gives that option.
yeah. Let's see. We dove into. Okay, so we were considering 3 different currencies or tokens through which you can buy a starter pack, and obviously it's going to look in your wallet, and it's first going to and it's going to check in order. I think basically, 1, do you have any USDC in that wallet? It's going to try to take from that first, if you have enough to cover the starter pack. 2, it's going to back up to ETH, and it's going to try to fill with as much USDC back up as ETH. If you have enough ETH to cover the entire cost of the starter pack, it will just allow you to purchase directly with ETH. And then 3, if neither one of those balances has sufficient balance to cover the starter pack, it'll allow you to basically go into the ramp system to onboard fiat through a credit card. And then you could just, you could swap here. You would buy enough ETH, you would proceed. It's going to add funds to your wallet. It's going to ask you now that the funds are in the wallet, do you want to complete the purchase? It's going to purchase it. It's going to add the starter pack to your account, and then it's gonna complete. So yeah, that's the idea is that ramp for people who start out with a brand new wallet, or I guess people who did not bridge existing ETH or stuff to a Starknet wallet, they will be redirected to Ramp, who is our partner, where you can just buy crypto with a credit card basically to complete the transaction with as few steps as possible.
Yep, and just to also go into the starter pack itself in a little more detail, we've been going back and forth a lot about exactly what's in that, mainly because we want to ensure that the onboarding experience for new players is as value rich as possible. There's been some debate about whether like starting the game and then having building your extractor, building your warehouse, and then spending 4 or 5 days waiting for your extraction to finish before you can do the next thing. We had the internal discussion about whether that was actually like a suitable enough hook for new players. And so where I think we are going down right now is that we actually want that starter pack to also include a refinery in addition to the warehouse and the extractor. And just because the production chains offer like a huge amount of sort of play value that pure extraction alone maybe doesn't. So that'll hopefully give new players a bit more to work with in their initial playing of the game. And what that also suggested to us is that because if you have the extractor and the refinery both, the refinery obviously uses a different type of crewmate than the extractor. You need the engineer versus the miner. We also would like, if we can, to squeeze a couple of crewmates into that starter pack rather than just one. We're still working on the exact final numbers for what you're going to get in that pack, but that's sort of the direction we're going. Expect it to get you a little bit more bang for your buck there. And the way that we can do that is just by adjusting the sort of ratio of the time cost of something to make in the game. Like when I'm modeling the product and figuring out what their sort of fair market values are, it's all in terms of time to make that product. And so I can actually just go in and sort of turn a knob that says like how much sway per action time, what that ratio is, and so I can dial that down a little bit. And the place that will actually obviously be surfaced is in the seeding values for everything. So when we say that this starter pack costs this many dollars and it gives you this many enough sway for these 3 things, we can say that during the seeding period with complete certainty because those products on the marketplace will be seeded at those sway prices so that we can guarantee those prices. There was a question about what happens after the seeding is pulled, and the answer there is that, of course, market values will determine like how much the the refinery, extractor, warehouse, et cetera, cost. And in that case, we'll just go with market rates. The beautiful thing there is kind of like that lets the market establish like what are those things actually worth. Like what is a refinery worth? What is an extractor worth on the open market? Is the play value there enough to make it be worth more or less than what we seeded it at? We'll find out. Either way, like the starter pack will have to follow that. I think that's fine. I mean, if it goes lower, then great. You can get into the game for cheaper, and hopefully you can get farther in the game for cheaper. If it goes higher, well then wow, like people are really valuing this game, and yeah, you might need a little bit more money to start, but also the money to be made is a lot higher too. So I think there's sort of good outcomes no matter what that price does after the seeding period is over. But during the seeding period, we guarantee exactly what that will be.
But that was the modeling. Yeah, that's a good point that we really wanted to get that refinery gameplay in there. I'm really happy we managed to fit that in because that opens up a ton of fun chemistry and other stuff, and basically transmutations that you can do with the stuff you get out of the ground. You're not just going to be grinding extractions on a basic starter pack for a long time before you can finally get up to refinery. But also, yes, there is definitely very interesting game design challenges when we call something a starter pack, because ultimately this is a bundle of some crewmates and some currency, and there is definitely we fit it in so that there's a recommended track that we think would be good for a lot of new players to start if they just want to dabble and get a feel for all of the game systems. But there's certainly no way to force players, and there's also like Proto was just saying, there's no way to force the market to to bend necessarily to ensure we can't gift out buildings. We're just going to give you the money, and we're going to give you the tools you need to hopefully spend that money on a certain amount of materials there. But we can't with certainty define the new player experience just like that.
Yep. And one thing, go ahead.
No, you please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, gray area. Mark mentioned the current sort of pre-release price for light transport being around $200. The exchange rate for Sway to in-game time spent producing a product currently it's looking like that'll be adjusted downward significantly by maybe up to around four times. So pre-release prices are considerably higher than they will be in mainnet, and the reason again for that being to be able to fit those 3 different buildings into the starter pack rather than just the extractor and the warehouse. That just means we had to tune those down a little bit. And I could talk for hours about all the different seating things that go into that, but that's sort of the gist of it.
A few questions that I want to just answer here. One, I'm getting some messages privately on did we choose a launch date that had anything to do with Alliance asteroids and things like that on orbital periods? No, not at all. That was not in the discussion whatsoever. And you'll have to look at transfer orbits and figure those things out. I honestly don't know what those look like comparative to asteroids you control or Alliance's control. Chris, I don't know if you want to say anything on that, but there might be some questions around is the day going to be changing in game? If it's June 27th, does that just mean that the time in game is whatever that is plus, or what it is now plus whatever June 27th equals?
We're not going to be changing anything. We chose based on when weekends are, when the holidays are, when people on the team are available, and we chose because we want to be able to align with some partners who would like to show us off for ETHCC, which is in early July in Brussels, if anybody would like to come and join.
Let's eat Brussels sprouts in Brussels. Next question I wanted to just briefly cover too. Did we consider starter packs that included a light transport? No, light transports are not going to be included in any starter packs whatsoever. They also aren't going to be sold on the open market from us at all. The individual components to build ships, we can, maybe you want to give some information on that, but overall, the starter packs are just simply Sway and crewmates.
Yep. So, I mean, obviously you can take that sway and buy whatever you want on the market, which, we have to be a little bit careful with. Like if we encourage that too much, then people are going to go out and, buy something they can't use, which isn't great for a new player. But you could buy the parts potentially for a light transport. I think you would come out a little under being able to afford all of them with just the starter pack. If you bought the bigger starter pack, you might be able to do that. We'll have to look at those numbers, but yeah, it's just sway that you get, so you can sort of go out and buy whatever you want.
Let's see here. Other questions here. Oh, Chris, I don't know if you want to cover this. I saw that Chauveau asked, do you have a final decision on, having an early access period or not? I know you answered in the chat, but it might be worth just having on recording.
Yeah, this is something that we brought up and solicited feedback from everybody, or as many of you who are willing to give it, at the last AMA, and overwhelmingly, I think maybe exclusively, the feedback was that you did not want to see an early access period, and so June 27th will be open to all.
Yep, and something just to mention there is that the benefit of an early access period partly was for sort of testing the game with people who are a little bit more friendly to us and willing to sort of put up with whatever bugs might happen in those first hours, days of launch. And the way that we're doing it now is again sort of having this little bit of like a Web3 centric launch to start us off, and then when we are ready, when we're convinced the game is fully ready to roll out to the broader Web2 audience that we're aiming for, that's when we'll sort of have that launch. Potentially less of a formal one, but more of just like an ad launch. But at that point, we will have had all the benefits of an early access period from you guys, while you're the community, the Web3 community, testing the game extensively. And so we don't really need that early access period from that perspective either.
Let's see. I see some other people typing. Red Acted has some questions around Sway. I don't know what we want to cover or not cover, Chris, but let me go ahead and read a few of these.
I think I actually answered most of those in a previous discussion about the Sway purchases on.
Okay, great. Yeah, I hadn't read the questions. I just linked them so that I could get back to them at some point. Okay, yeah, he's saying it mostly was covered anyway, so that's great.
Yes, I did see them and tried to respond as best as I could.
Okay, so yeah, next question, Proto, for you. When build cost changes?
Sorry, what was the prompt?
When are the building cost changes for goods and everything going to be there? Yeah, so
that's live.
the SDK is out.
Yep, all the changes are live in game. To expand on that a little bit, among the various changes we made to support getting to asteroids more easily, the more distant ones more easily, we increased the propellant tanks by a factor of 2. So your light transport that could formerly hold 2,000 tons of hydrogen propellant can now hold 4,000 tons, etc. And the other side of that was that we also reduced the construction materials needed for buildings, specifically the steel and concrete or cement needed for that. So if you look now, if you go to build a building, you'll see that they require substantially less than they did before, mostly for the smaller buildings, a little bit less so for the bigger buildings. And that's now live in game. So along with all the other production changes that I have been talking about in I think previous AMAs, which I won't repeat now, but everybody who's still in pre-release, please go test the new production chains, try out the new processes, try out the changed ones. Tell me what you think about electrolysis or the new carbon monoxide processes. Tell me what you think. We'd love to get that feedback, just to make sure that there aren't any final tweaks we need to get into the chains. But hopefully we're pretty close to where we want to be for launch.
Just a general reminder regarding testnet and Spolia. It will be fairly long running. I mean, no promises that we'll never take it down, but the goal is for that pre-release staging environment to kind of be our bleeding edge version of influence that will always have kind of the future features that we're working on, improvements. So if you're even after June 27th, you're playing and you're ever curious what's going on, what we're working on, testnet will be there to play around and investigate that. Potentially use as a playground for trying new strategies as well.
Conversely, can we say that like hey, if you guys want a wipe, if community is interested in that to, I don't know, dry run some more strategies, colonization strategies or whatnot, are we able to provide that service? Like, I don't think we will wipe, obviously, randomly or just like that, but if there was a strong desire to do a fresh start, could we do that?
Possibly, we could discuss it. It's definitely something that we could discuss with the community.
One thing I wanted to also just bring into voice that was asked and answered here in chat. Groove, thanks for the question. But how much ETH or Sway or whatever it is that you need in your wallet, in terms of maybe US dollar amount you'll need to pay for transactions for playing this game? Very little. I mean, I think if you put $5 in your account, that should be plenty for quite some time. So, I don't want to give an exact number in terms of how much each transaction will cost. And I don't think Chris wants to go into the minutia of how gas is calculated, but have a few dollars for that. And then starter packs will also come with enough Sway so that you can convert that, or will automatically convert it once paymasters are part of this, so that it pays for your actions. So that's all pretty much taken care of. But a few bucks, $5, that should be plenty. I love that. One of the biggest things over the multiple years we've been building this game was the biggest hurdle was how much is gas going to cost per action, and I feel like that's like barely even a concern at this point. So that's a huge amount of changes for our infrastructure that has gone through. That has really been amazing.
It has. I mean, I will say, if any of you are, active on Twitter or watching general sentiment, Starknet has had some struggles over the last 4 months, but they have done, on the technical side, an incredible job on fees. They are, I posted a picture earlier, but I think that they're far and away the cheapest L2 at the moment, like by 5x. You may say like, well, they have less usage, but it's actually not related in any way. If their usage went up, the fees would actually go down more. So I think it's pretty amazing that their fees are 5x cheaper than the next closest competitor.
Yeah, I think that's pretty validating that we picked the right tech stack to begin with. And I remember that picture was really funny because it was like there was like four decimal zeros, right? They basically broke the fee comparison.
Yeah, I think it actually showed as 0 at some point. Yes, free.
And then on top of that, I don't think we can commit to it yet, but there might be like the ability to subsidize fees for players for a while. Chris, maybe you want to comment on that?
I can't comment much on it, but we're working on it, and hopefully that's something that we can bring to fruition for the early period, and especially when we're trying aggressively to attract the traditional gamers, the Web2 market. I think that will be a huge advantage. And yeah, I mean, if there's anything Rainier points out, gas abstraction, I think it is huge. I mean, the idea that you could pay in Sway is something that we could play with doing, and we had already considered playing with, kind of taking advantage of, again, account abstraction and the fact that we have native multi-calls, playing with the idea of like swapping some of your Sway as part of a multi-call to ETH so that it could pay the fees if you ever got low on ETH. But now that we have the possibility to start working with these paymasters, that they can be paid in Sway from the get-go. And I think that's incredibly exciting. Like, then the immersion is complete. You never have to deal with anything except for Sway when you're playing Influence.
The dream becomes a reality soon, which is, yeah.
It is. It's shockingly close.
Yeah. I mean, look, as someone who joined the Ethereum community in 2015, these were things I was talking about back then, thinking it would be like a year or two away. and now they're finally on the horizon enough where I'm pretty confident that I could like guess dates on some of these things, and so that's extremely exciting. So we've got about 15 more minutes that we can go, guys. If you guys have any specific questions that maybe are around launch or game related questions, by all means, or if it's just not related to the discussion we've been having so far, still feel free. This is your time. Happy to give you information. One thing I'll note, well, maybe some people are typing questions, is that StarkNet will have a presence at ETHCC, as we kind of mentioned. I don't have any additional details on that yet, but when I do, I will make sure to post that publicly here in the Discord and on Twitter, making sure that people know the times, the dates, everything, so that if you want to be there, you can be. I know that Chris is going to try and make it. I might possibly go out to that as well. Still, details are being hashed out now, so I can't say much more on that. And yes, Darius, when Discovery, soon TM? Question mark.
After June 27th.
Yeah. All right. Another question: will there be a cost benefit to buying starter packs over a la carte? Great question. I mean, there are some opportunities here. Chris and I are discussing. I think for the basic starter pack, what you see is what you get. It'll likely be between $25-$30. You get whatever it says in there. However, for the advanced starter pack, I think we have a bit more flexibility. Maybe we can toss in some additional crewmates, things like that. But additional sway is not possible, just because that comes in directly from the open market. So I'll leave it at that there. I know that we haven't really talked about incentives or anything like that in game. Incentive is fun, by the way. That's a huge part of it. But maybe, Chris, we want to talk a little bit about random events again, and what those look like at launch, and how players who are new, see them. I think some of these people have probably already seen random events pop up as they've been playing pre-release, but maybe not. And it would be good to maybe just hash that out a little bit and see if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, I mean, in general, random events is a big avenue of expansion for us, and this is pre-discovery. In the period between exploitation launching and discovery, there will be quite a few random events added, not just ones that have sway as rewards, but also ones that potentially can add traits to your crewmates, can eventually swap traits for your crewmates, both impactful and cosmetic traits. Some of those cosmetic traits will actually gate which random events you have access to as well. So it actually brings a little bit of impactfulness to those cosmetic traits. And we're really, really, really excited about them. But one of the main uses for them when exploitation launches is to provide incentives to take certain actions in the game via sway. So some of you, I'm sure, have seen the random events in testnet. Basically, as you're taking certain actions, flying from AP to your asteroid, extracting materials, running core samples, there's a chance that you will have a random event pop up and you will be awarded some sway initially by the Prime Council. And these will they sort of form the basis of how a lot of the sway that gets emitted as a result of player activity gets fed back into the game. And it sort of ensures that we can keep up with the growth of the player base by ensuring that sway can get into the hands of the players and then ultimately used for stimulating the economy in game.
Yeah, and we were just talking about that too. Just a little bit earlier today too, but the frequency of the current events, and that's based on the amount that we have designed, even though we've designed about 100, right? But
I think it's closer to 200, but yeah, it's quite a few.
Yeah, and
Moonlight.
How often we want those to get hit, right? And I know Chris, you've been a big fan of Crusader Kings for a while, and I keep hearkening to that example too of like they have a pretty good cadence. I mean, they're also a single player game where you can speed up time, but it's fun because you're not just playing the simulation. There's always stuff happening in your kingdom, right? And there's always these events that pop up. and they add a lot of flavor. And I think they're going to be a big inspiration for the types of really cool and really fun event chains that we can have that will not only throw you for a new, like throw you out of the typical game loop maybe that you're used to doing, force some challenges upon you, but also dangle some cool both sway and traits and other carrots and reward at the end of those chains too.
I answered flippantly about the estimated player base, but there are some good numbers, that JP's sharing. You can also take a look. I'm trying to recall off the top of my head, but I think there are 3,000 unique owners of crewmates on StarkNet already. So not including those that have not been bridged over from L1. And keep in mind, this is all sort of pre-marketing push. So we feel pretty good about the size of the player base and what we can reach at launch, and then even better about what we're going to be able to reach once we can really start pushing towards the Web 2 traditional market.
Yeah, I guess I'll just make a few comments here on that. The Web3 focused audience, traditionally, as many of you guys have probably seen, if you have social accounts on Twitter, things like that, are airdrop farmers, and they come in for a short period of time, they try and get their reward, and then they leave. And so the systems and influence are built differently. You play the game and you hit random events and you earn your rewards through that. And so I think it's a much, much stronger system. And we're going to have some fun events as well around launch that we can get sway into people's hands, crewmates into people's hands, things like that to attract some onlookers as well. And then for Web 2, we're going to be growing this game. Like, it's not going to be overnight that we see millions of players or whatever it would be that you could imagine. But I am working very hard to onboard traditional creators. We've got, advertisements that'll be going out across many social platforms, YouTube, Reddit, etc. And we'll be, bringing people in. So one thing to note as well is that we have a referral system, and we highly encourage you to use it however you would like. Bring your friends in, whatever it might be, and you can get rewarded on that as well. I mean, we set aside a pretty large chunk of our initial supply of sway specifically for referrals. And so that'll be used in a few specific ways when working with creators and with you guys bringing players in. And so I think we have a really good container to grow from. Like we have all the right ingredients, and to be realistic, we're a small team. We're not a AAA game, and so we aren't operating like a AAA game. We are operating like a I call it Triple I. We're an indie studio with an incredibly polished game. So we're just going to lean into that and have some fun. Shed light on the things that bring people to this game, and for the people who are likely going to stick around longer term. Those are much more valuable players for all of us. And I don't just mean, extracting money from people. It's people to play with, people to grow alliances with, people to have fun with, make friends. I've got friends that got married in World of Warcraft. Maybe we'll see a wedding in Influence one day. Let's see here. Any other additional questions? Oh, sorry, go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna comment to that. Yeah, the stage is set for something really cool, and I love the Triple I reference, by the way. I've always wanted to. Yeah, it's cool to be able to. Well, one, I'm always just floored by how a team of our size and scope was able to build a massively multiplayer game with n number of participants. And there, the credit goes to Chris, obviously, for figuring that out. That this was the tech that could enable it, right? There is no way. There's no way without blockchain that we could have done something like this. It just enabled that from the get-go, and yeah, it's just cool to be trailblazing through that. We are here. Yes, we're not a massive scale team. We don't have a bunch of funding. We're working on brand new technology that's like literally being developed under our feet, and we're trying to, you know, shift around to match it as it evolves underneath us. But it's also like that could be a really fun experience too if you're here on the ground level while the community is really really small, while we're getting going. The very first seeds of this Adalian world that is going to be unstoppable and forever, right? Even if we walk away, are being seeded right now. So it's a really cool time to be here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like an incredible time to be in this space, and to be kind of one of the pioneers of on-chain gaming or decentralized gaming or provable gaming, whatever you want to call it. I try not to give it too much of a label because things shift all the time. But I think there's some just core pieces to how we've built this game that I really hope we can do a good job of pushing that out and have that resonate with our core player base. And I think we absolutely will. It's just, this is new. I mean, there's so much to try and explain that sometimes, not only is the game like drinking from the fire hose, but so is the technology. And so we're finally at this point with Argent and Avnu and Paymasters and, scaling solutions, whatever else. We're like, we can finally let technology take a back seat and put the game in the front. But to get to that point, oh my God. I mean, Chris, I can only imagine what your life has been like for the last 3 years involved with kind of pushing this tech forward to make this game possible.
Well, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but a lot of the time has been spent pushing the tech forward and not necessarily building the game. Would have been nice if it was further along, but I think what we're building is really worthwhile and really cool.
Yeah, a book will be written in 10, 15 years about this period of time, and will likely get mentioned at some point.
Yeah, a not insignificant amount of Starknet infrastructure has been built because this was there with the whip cracking behind them. So, it's not a joke to say you pushed forward a lot of what's happening right now.
Okay, so let's see here. I'm sorry, I've avoided the chat for another few minutes. Is there any other questions that we missed? It doesn't look like it. Looks like, Chris, you've been casually responding to people in jest. Okay, so we've got a few more minutes. If we have a few more questions, by all means, please post them, and then we'll close this up. But again, get hyped, guys. June 27th. For those who maybe are late to the party, June 27th, that's the launch date. Get excited. Share with your friends. Tell your grandma. Bake a cake, put it on top in frosting, whatever you want to do.
You got one.
Yeah.
Got a
Oh,
date.
and Star Wars Freak. Yeah, we've got the store. It's linked in the actual website too, influenceth.io. You should see a store page that will take you to this as well. So for anyone who wants a t-shirt, a hat, some swag, a blanket with the logo, whatever it might be, yeah, we have that. No pressure though.
Soon in Sway. Don't worry, Sway will take over as the currency of choice in everything. Soon, gas in Sway. Before
And t-shirts.
long, t-shirts in Sway too.
When gas in t-shirts.
That is some intense gas fee abstraction at that point.
Real world assets, right?
It takes the shirt right off of you. Oh God. All right, guys. So last thing I want to mention before we close out is that you guys have a few more weeks to get creator submissions in and provide any feedback or bug reporting to be included in kind of the last amount of pre-release rewards and things like that. For anyone who is part of the ACC and hasn't already responded to my multiple messages to get your information to me, by June 1st, if you do not have your address designated in the assets portal and you haven't gotten me the right information, rewards will not be doled out after that. We are setting that date because Chris has to do some serious hard work in getting all of that set up and having rewards distributed, and we can't make exceptions. So please, do that. And then if you have things you want to post and submit, please do. We love people sharing, and if you are a content creator listening and you want to do some additional content creation around launch, ping me. I am working with creators big and small, whether you have a following or not, and I am more than happy to discuss what that could look like. So cheers, guys. Have a great day, June 27th.
Amazing, guys. Thank
Thanks,
you all.
gentlemen. Have a good one.